There's a letter I wrote 40 years ago, and like a fool, I never sent it. Regret is a funny thing. It sneaks up on you when you least expect it, like when you're standing in the middle of your garage, knee-deep in old junk, wondering why you ever thought keeping a broken toaster was a good idea. That's exactly where I was when I found it. I had been forced into this cleaning mission by my daughter, Laura. Apparently, she had decided that my garage had crossed the line from sentimental storage to future episode of Hoarders. So there I was, grumbling my way through dust-covered boxes, when something slipped out from an old book and landed at my feet. A yellowed envelope. My stomach twisted the second I saw the name on it. Eddie Reynolds. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Slowly, I picked it up, my fingers tracing the worn edges. I knew exactly what this was. A letter I had written 40 years ago. A letter I had never sent. I swallowed hard and sat down on an old lawn chair, staring at the envelope like it might catch fire in my hands. Eddie had been my best friend. No, he had been more than that. He was my brother, the one person who had always been there for me, through thick and thin. And then one stupid mistake had torn it all apart. I could still remember that night, clear as day. We were both 28, standing outside a bar after a few too many drinks. Eddie had confronted me about something I didn't want to hear. "Frank, you can't keep running from your problems." I had been angry, defensive. I had said things I shouldn't have. "If you think you're so much better than me, maybe we shouldn't be friends at all." Eddie had just stared at me for a long moment. Then, without another word, he had walked away. And that was it. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into years. And pride, the stupid, useless kind, kept me from picking up the phone. But at some point, regret had started to creep in. So I had sat down and written this letter. A full-page confession of how wrong I had been, how much I missed our friendship. And then, I had shoved it inside a book and forgotten about it. 40 damn years. My chest felt tight as I slowly unfolded the letter, the paper brittled beneath my fingers. "Eddie, I was wrong." The words stared back at me, mocking me. I had meant them. I still did. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Well, Frank, you've officially won the gold medal for procrastination. I should have sent this letter 40 years ago. But maybe it wasn't too late. I had to find Eddie. I had to know if he was still out there. I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. Finding someone after 40 years isn't easy. It's not like I could just call information and say, "Hey, remember my best friend from 1983? So like any man in over his head, I called for reinforcements. "Tyler," I said, holding the phone to my ear. "I need your help." My grandson groaned. "Grandpa, if this is about fixing your Wi-Fi again, it's not. I need you to find someone for me." There was a pause. "Are you asking me to track someone down?" "Not track, just locate." "So stalk them?" "Tyler." All right. Who are we looking for?" "Eddie Reynolds. We were best friends a long time ago. I lost touch with him, and I need to find him." Tyler said, the way teenagers do when they're humoring old people. "Do you know where he lives?" "Not anymore." "Last known address?" I coughed. "Texas. 40 years ago." Another sigh. "Grandpa, do you know how many Eddie Reynoldses exist?" "At least one." "That's the one I need." Tyler muttered something under his breath, but I heard the sound of furious typing. After a few minutes, he spoke again. "I found a guy named Edward Reynolds in a small town outside Houston. Could be him." Houston. That was where we had grown up. My pulse kicked up a notch. "You're a genius kid." Yeah. Just remember this when I ask for birthday money." I hung up and hit the road, my heart pounding the whole way. The town had changed since I'd last seen it, but some things were still the same. The smell of barbecue in the air, the lazy way the afternoon sun stretched across the sidewalks. I walked into the old diner we used to haunt and asked the waitress if she knew Eddie Reynolds. Her face softened. "Oh, honey, I hate to tell you this, but Eddie passed away." I froze. 3 years ago, she added gently. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I had waited too long. The letter in my pocket suddenly felt heavier than ever. 40 years of silence, and now there was no way to fix it. No way to tell Eddie that I had never meant those words that pushed him away. I mumbled a thank you and stumbled outside, my legs unsteady. Regret settled in my chest like a stone. I had been too stubborn, too afraid to reach out. And now, I had run out of time. I sank onto a bench, rubbing my temples. What was I even doing here? Chasing ghosts? Excuse me, a voice said. I looked up to see a woman standing in front of me. She was in her late 30s, maybe early 40s, with dark hair and sharp eyes, the kind of eyes that looked eerily familiar. Are you Frank Mitchell? I blinked. Yeah. She hesitated before speaking again. My name is Lisa Reynolds. Her voice was careful, measured. Eddie was my father. I stared at her. Eddie's daughter. And she had been looking for me. My heart pounded as I realized this wasn't over yet. Not even close. For a long moment, I just stared at her. Lisa Reynolds. Eddie's daughter. I could see him in her. The sharpness in her eyes, the way she held herself, even the way she hesitated before speaking, like she was measuring every word before she let it out. You knew who I was? I finally managed to ask. Lisa nodded. My dad talked about you sometimes. A lump formed in my throat. Eddie had talked about me. After all those years, Lisa motioned toward the diner. Do you have a minute? I think we should talk. I nodded numbly, still trying to process everything. We walked back inside where the waitress, who had just casually shattered my heart, was now refilling coffee cups like nothing had happened. Lisa slid into a booth and gestured for me to sit across from her. I did, though my hands still felt shaky. My dad was a good man, she said after a moment. But he held on to things. Not just objects, memories, regrets. I swallowed. Yeah, I remember. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, worn envelope. It looked eerily familiar. My dad wrote this letter to you 40 years ago, she said. He never sent it. The world tilted for a second. What? Lisa pushed the envelope across the table. I found it in his things after he passed. He kept it in a box with some old photos and a note that said, for Frank, if he ever comes back. My heart pounded as I picked up the envelope. The handwriting on the front was unmistakable, Eddie's. It was like seeing a ghost. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I exhaled sharply and reached into my pocket, pulling out the letter I had written to Eddie all those years ago. I set it on the table next to his. Lisa's eyes widened. Is that? I nodded. I wrote him a letter, too. An apology. I let out a bitter laugh. And I never sent it. Silence stretched between us, heavy and unspoken. Then, at the exact same time, we both burst out laughing. It wasn't funny, not really. It was tragic, ridiculous, infuriating. But what else could we do? Lisa wiped a tear from her eye. So let me get this straight. My dad waited for a letter from you. And you waited for a letter from him. And the whole time, both letters just sat there? I groaned. Yeah. We were a couple of idiots, huh? She smirked. I was gonna say stubborn, but sure. After a moment, she nudged Eddie's letter toward me. You should read it. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I hesitated for just a second before unfolding the paper. Frank, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I need to write it anyway. I was angry when we last spoke, but the truth is, I missed you the moment you walked out that door. You were my best friend. You still are. I don't know why we let something so stupid come between us, but if I ever see you again, I hope we can just forget the past. I hope we can be us again. Take care, buddy. Eddie. I closed my eyes, swallowing hard against the lump in my throat. 40 years. 40 wasted years. Lisa studied my face. Are you okay? I nodded, though my chest felt like it had been cracked open. I should have sent that damn letter. Lisa smiled gently. So should he. We sat there in silence for a long time, both of us lost in the weight of what could have been. Finally, Lisa spoke. I think my dad would have wanted you to have something else. I looked up. What? She hesitated. Come with me. I'll show you. Lisa took me to Eddie's house, his old house. The one where we had spent endless summer afternoons as kids, planning mischief and dreaming about the future. Walking through that front door felt like stepping into another life. The furniture was different, the walls painted new colors, but the air still smelled the same. Like home. Lisa led me to a small study. It was cluttered, but in a way that felt lived in, loved. Books lined the shelves, a well-worn baseball glove sat on the desk, and in the corner was a wooden box. "He kept this for years," Lisa said softly. I knelt down and opened the box. Inside were old photographs, our photographs. Pictures of Eddie and me as kids, as teenagers, as young men before everything had fallen apart. Beneath them were scattered bits of paper, ticket stubs from baseball games, scraps of notes we had passed in school. And tucked neatly at the bottom, beneath everything else, was the newspaper clipping of the last baseball game we had ever gone to together. I picked it up with shaking fingers. "He never stopped thinking about me," I murmured. Lisa sat down beside me. "No, he didn't." A lump formed in my throat. All those years. All that time wasted. But then something settled in my chest. A strange kind of peace. Maybe I had lost my chance to fix things with Eddie in person, but I hadn't lost my chance to honor our friendship. A few days later, Lisa invited me to a small memorial gathering for Eddie. Just close friends and family, sharing stories, remembering the man he was. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up, holding my old, crumpled letter. "I never got to give this to Eddie," I said, my voice steady. "But maybe in some way he can hear it now." And for the first time, I read it out loud. Every word. Every apology. Every memory. When I finished, I folded it neatly and placed it inside Eddie's wooden box, alongside the memories he had kept of me. I stepped back and looked up at the sky. "Guess we both waited too long, huh, buddy?" I murmured. A soft breeze rustled through the trees, and maybe it was just my imagination, but it felt like a pat on the back. A laugh escaped my lips. Yeah, I get it. Next time, I won't wait so long." And I meant it, because some lessons take a lifetime to learn. But the important ones, the ones that shape tomorrow, should never be left unsaid.